Welcome, everybody, back to my 32 fan series. If this is the first episode that you are watching, you have missed a ton. So, this is a series where I talk to one fan from every single NFL team. Today, obviously, I'm speaking to somebody from I'll say the lovely Cincinnati Bengals, although you're in our division, but that's okay. We're all friends. And then the other thing is, too, just so everybody knows, all of your information will be in the description, so they don't have to search for you far. I'll also add you to collaborate if you want to, so they'll be able to find you very easily. And this is our first conversation. So I always tell people, anytime I talk to somebody the first time, I always like to let everybody know, because this should be actually more normal than it actually is. So if you want to introduce us, anything you want us to know, and then we'll just start talking about these Cincinnati Bengals.
Sure. I go by the name Ace Boogie. I am at New Stripe City on Twitter. I'm one half of the Winincinnati podcast. So been in this YouTube space talking Bengals since 2016. Now doing the Winincinnati thing right now. Sometimes I do some stuff for Bleacher Report. So glad to be here and glad to talk AFC North football.
Yeah, I love it. And I just want to start off by saying, as soon as the Dexter Lawrence trade happened, I actually really liked it. I liked it for Cincinnati. I liked it for the Giants. I liked it for everybody. I thought he was exactly what you all needed. So I need to start there. How do you feel about that trade? Now that there's been some time, how are you feeling about that trade?
I mean, I love the trade immediately when I started to hear the whispers about it being a real thing. And I remember being on Twitter, and I'm not going to say that I'm an insider, but I've been privy to having the privilege of knowing specific people and knowing who's in the know. And when I started to see them talking on the timeline and people kind of like pushing it away, like, oh, what are you guys talking? I'm like, nah, there's some smoke to this, because certain people that I know that are in the know are talking about this. So I was wondering when it would happen. And when it finally came through, the one thing at first that I was hoping was that we were able to do it for a second round pick. So not going to lie, not going to try to act like I, wanted it to be the first round pick. But the more that I kind of thought about it and the more that I heard who else was in, I think I heard that Chicago was in. The only way that the Bengals were going to be able to make that happen was to offer that number 10 pick. And as things kind of went along with the draft, I started to notice that most of the guys that I thought would possibly be there would not possibly be there. There were so many reports coming out at the time. So it was exactly what the Bengals needed, especially for a defense that's really struggled. That's been pretty much the main reason that they've missed the playoffs these past 3 years, is a lot of those players from 2021, from 2022 that helped get the Bengals to the Super Bowl, the Logan Wilsons, the DJ Readers, the Mike Hiltons, slowly but surely, Cheeto, all of these guys started to disappear. And then they had a defense that was just non-existent. There were no leaders on the team. There was no one that could set the tone on the defense. And I think when you get Dexter Lawrence, you're not only getting a premier NFL player, even if his best years are behind him, he's still a good player. But the biggest thing is the leadership and the guy that's going to be able to set the tone for the defense, because this Bengals team has just had so many draft picks that they've missed on, and so many guys that are trying to find a role that really don't have a voice. And now you insert a guy like Dexter Lawrence. This is just what the defense needed from that perspective. So on a multitude of fronts, obviously they need him on that defensive line from a talent standpoint, but they need somebody as a vocal person in that locker room for that defense to be some kind of identity for them, because they literally didn't have one. Like, if you had to put the Bengals up in a marquee matchup and you don't pick an offensive player, I don't know what defensive player you would have picked to do the intro to kind of be on the graphic for Sunday Night Football, because there was no one there. So now you kind of have that in a guy like Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And, it's funny, this is going to sound kind of petty, but I always can tell how people watch football and who actually watches football by how they react to certain things and what they say. And they're like, oh, this is terrible. I'm like, okay, you didn't watch the Bengals last year at all. Got it. Okay. Just say that. Just say that. If you think this is terrible, just say you didn't watch them last year. It's totally fine. So, okay. So how are you feeling then as a fan overall? So let's be honest here. The big elephant in the room every year for the Bengals is Joe Burrow.
For sure.
He's always the biggest thing in the room, right? If he's healthy, all things are a go. How is it being a Bengals fan with knowing that, though? Like, having that be like an active thing you have to think about?
I think with the Joe Burrow thing, it's always going to be like when we drafted Joe, like, right? When it was time for us to draft Joe, they didn't want us to have Joe. Like the media perspective back then was Joe Burrow should request a trade and go to the Dolphins. He should go to the Jets. So
Fair.
like
Big
from a
market.
media perspective, we've kind of been dealing with the onslaught of Joe Burrow. It was always pretty much doomed from the beginning. Like they said that we would, kill his career. We would Carson Palmer him. And so they've been waiting kind of for this moment. Even when Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl, the first thing that they said was, oh, he's going to be Dan Marino. He's going to be the only guy that only gets there once. So, like, from a Bengals fan perspective, you're kind of used to the narrative of the big media not really liking Joe Burrow, the idea of Joe
Ooh,
Burrow as
okay.
a Cincinnati Bengal. And a lot of it does have validity. Don't get me wrong, because I was on the opposite side of actually the Jamar Chase situation. Me and my partner Zim, we had a very famous like YouTube battle where I was pro offensive tackle, he was pro Jamar Chase, and it got intense. It was very intense because obviously Joe Burrow was a great player, but he got
Yeah.
injured that season. So the whole thing about keeping him healthy was there, and it was an extreme of two different sides. One person that wanted to pair him with Jamar Chase, another who wanted to protect him because he had been taken out. And obviously the Bengals went with Jamar Chase, and at first it still looked like it could be a situation where they weren't really treating Joe Burrow's health at the forefront of what was going on, because even though we got to the Super Bowl, why did we lose? Joe Burrow was still getting killed and
Offensive
still getting
line.
hit.
Yeah.
They go out, they fix the offensive line. So now that's no longer, well, it's funny because like you said, the people that really watch football and really watch the Bengals know that the offensive line isn't the thing anymore. You can easily tell who didn't watch the Bengals last year because they still think the offensive line is bad. So last year, the offensive line is fixed, but the repeated issue, as I spoke to earlier in the show, is the defense. Like once they
100%.
invested in Jamar, once they invested in T, once they invested and Joe, they really didn't invest in anything on defense, and they tried to get away with trying to draft their issues away. But guess what? The Bengals suck at drafting defensive players, and that's no shade. Like there are a couple of decent ones and good ones in there. DJ Turner, just in case any of the players watch this. Like I'm not saying that they are bad players, but it's been a while since the Bengals drafted
it just hasn't
an
worked.
all-pro on that side. Like it's literally been since Jesse Bates, who's no
Yep.
longer there. So it's now been a situation where
If you like this video, now is a perfect time to take a second and hit that like button and leave us a comment in the comment section below.
Joe Burrow's going out and this offense is going out, dropping 30, 40. Like they're one of the best offenses in football. But guess what? Their defense is giving up 50. So it's been clear that the defense is the issue. And obviously Joe Burrow going through the injuries over the years, going through the defenses where he's been put in situations. And I think what really defeated him last year was it was a situation where he's coming back, and if people were actually tracking him before his return, he was very excited. He was very confident. He just knew that he thought that he could get the Bengals back into the race. And when the Bengals finally dropped that loss that officially like eliminated them, and you could see that the defense just wasn't getting better, that's where a lot of the anger kind of came from and the reflection came from, because this is a guy that's battled injuries. This is a guy that when we first got to the Super Bowl in 2021, I remember just the first playoff game, he was like, this is the standard, right? Like like he wasn't even celebrating, the Bengals winning their first playoff game in 30 years. Like he didn't care. He was like, bro, this is the standard. We're not celebrating any of this. So you take a guy that went to back-to-back AFC championships, went to a Super Bowl. That's where his mindset and his goal is. And now he's in a situation where we've missed the playoffs 3 years in a row. And we're watching teams like the Chiefs and teams that we used to rival with, the Ravens, the Bills, they're all doing better. And then I think it hurt even more last year because there was no true alpha dog in the AFC last year. Usually you get a whole bunch of, like, the Chiefs had a down season. Like the AFC was literally up for grabs, which is how the Patriots got there. So you add that to it, it's like, man. So I think initially him seeing that had him not necessarily second guessing, because Joe has a lot of power, and Joe is really a player that is, I'm not going to say smarter than he looks, but he knows what he's doing. He's very calculated. He knows, like, in order to put pressure on the front office, he may have to do an interview like that to make some kind of cryptic thing to make it seem like, if I'm not having fun anymore, this might be. But Joe is smart enough to know that when he makes a statement like that, it's going to speak directly to the front office and it's going to put the pressure and the ball in their court to force them to do something. Because Joe has been here and has seen them. Yes, they extended Jamar Chase. Yes, they extended T. Higgins. A lot of people don't know the way that happened was because Jamar Chase kind of forced the Bengals to do that. Mm-hmm. Him and T. Higgins got the same agent and said, hey, if you don't sign him, you're not going to get me. And so you kind of have to play 4D chess with the Bengals front office. And I really think Joe had seen that with guys like DJ Reader getting let go, guys like Trey Hendrickson, them not coming to terms. And so Joe was in a position where he's like, all right, what can I do to really send a statement to this team, to this front office that, hey, we really need to fix this defense. I appreciate Jamar. I appreciate you guys getting the offensive line together, but the defense has to change. And I think that's what he was doing from that perspective. But people within the know were comfortable because, we hear it all the time from his mom, his parents. Like Joe's not thinking about leaving Cincinnati. He just wants to make sure that they have a competitive team. Now, if it's a situation where the Bengals didn't do what they did this offseason, which is going out, trading for Dexter Lawrence, going out, spending money on defense, then yeah, Joe probably is having a serious conversation with them like, look, man, if we're not fixing anything and we're just here spinning our wheels and you're not showing me that you want to actually win or try to win, then yeah, I would be going. But I think like a lot of people looked at it as this was a play with Burrow, stepping to the front office, putting the pressure on them to say, the standard hasn't been there for 3 years. We look like we're going the opposite way instead of competing. So it's like, we got to make something happen. And I think the Bengals front office, I have to give them a lot of credit. I'm going to be honest. Like, I've been watching the Bengals since probably 1999 until now. So unfortunately, I didn't get to see like when they were good in the 80s. And so I was still like a kid, a very, very young kid at the time, late 80s. So for me, this is the best offseason and the most aggressive offseason I've ever seen from them. And I think before that, it was when they went and got DJ Reader and all of those guys. But you have to keep the context with what that was. Like, Joe Burrow still on a rookie contract. So Joe Burrow wasn't a top paid quarterback, and they're also spending money at the receiver position, and they're going out and spending all it. So like for me, this was the most aggressive I've ever seen the Bengals. Like, I never would have thought that I would see like a ESPN like notification, like the Bengals just traded for Dexter Lawrence and gave him a new contract while paying all of these. Like, you just don't normally see that with the Bengals. And I don't like to pigeonhole them because a lot of people try to call them cheap. I don't think that they're cheap, but I think that they've been burned in the past whenever they've done stuff like this with the Dexter Lawrence kind of deal, where they're just like, oh, we're scared that it's going to go the wrong way. But I think between this deal, I think you even go back to the Orlando Brown Jr. thing. I thought that there was nothing that they could do to top that. And that was more so Orlando Brown Jr. wanting to play with Joe Burrow, more so than it was the Bengals just outright signing Orlando Brown Jr. But for them to make the moves that they've made, it's clear that the franchise knows how important Joe Burrow is. He's not getting younger. He's 30, right? So, like, you look at this window, and it looked like the window was closing. And so I think these moves and Joe doing that helped them open the window back up.
So those are all like the free agent moves, the big splashes, the big things, the things we know about. If we transition to the draft, how did you feel about the draft? Like, what's one word would you use to describe the draft?
I think the Bengals draft, one word that I would use to describe it would be value. I think when you look at the players that they got, even starting out with the second round pick, some people expected him to possibly be there late first. So I think the Bengals looked at it as, we're getting a guy that potentially could have gone in the first round. We're getting him in the second round. We're getting a premium pick. And then I think when you look at, especially once you get to the 4th, 5th, and 6th round, like they were just getting guy after guy that was supposed to have gone. They had a guy that was in the 6th round, I believe the tight end. He was supposed to go as early as the 4th. They had a defensive tackle that they probably had like a 5th round grade on. They got him in the 7th. They were able to get a future center who could be a really big piece for them that would have been a 2nd rounder if he didn't have a knee injury. They got him, I believe, in like the 4th or 5th round. Like they got a lot of bargains, I think, in this draft. Whereas before they've kind of reached on players. They've kind of drafted guys that might be priority free agents in like the 5th round. And the biggest question from everyone, though, like I love what they did with the value, and I think that they got a lot of really good players collectively. And there's one player that I think that, and it was Tacario Davis. Everybody was wondering what they were going to do at the corner position and the linebacker position. And with corner, they kind of ended up missing the run at corner in the draft with some of the top guys that you would have wanted for the Bengals. So they get to the 3rd round and they take a guy in Tacario Davis, who's a 6'4" corner, who's kind of like, he's kind of got that Sauce Gardner build somewhat, right? So they kind of went with the traits there from that perspective after taking a guy like Cassius Howe, which they thought would be a 1st round pick. But they get to Tacario and they go with the traits there, but there's still a question for this team at slot cornerback. And Dax Hill has been a guy that they moved around a lot. Originally was a safety. They moved him into nickel. He really seemed to actually find a home on the outside, which is kind of unique because normally you don't hear safeties being able to transition and become a good outside corner. And Dax Hill has done that, but the Bengals have still kind of not committed to whether or not they want him on the outside or inside. And he has come out and said, I don't want to play on the outside. So Tacario Davis is interesting because since he's so tall, he's more of an outside corner. He doesn't really play on the inside. And so that is a situation where they kind of went with, let's take a look at some traits and see what we can do there. That was an interesting pick. When I look at the lack of,
do you think he's the steal? Do you think he's the steal of? You think he's like the day 2, day 3 pick that you think would be the biggest steal of the draft for you all?
I would say no, only because Tacario Davis, some people felt like we kind of reached for him. Like we took him in the 3rd round. I think he was expected to go in the 4th round. But he could end up being a quote unquote steal because of the traits that he has. Like you don't just find 6'4" corners, right? Like he's extremely tall. I think he could be a really good value. I think the biggest steal might be either Connor Lew, the center that I was talking about out of Auburn, that would have been a 2nd round pick. They got him in the 4th. Or maybe it's Jack Andrews, just because he was taken in the 7th round. He had no business being there in the 7th round. So I would probably say Jack then.
As a proud Texas Longhorns supporter, yeah, go. I won't disagree with you. Who do you think? Who's a player from your draft class you think will make the biggest impact?
That's a great question. I think it's actually going to be Cassius Howe, and the reason that I say that is the Bengals did a lot of work in free agency, adding to that defensive line, but they still lost Trey Hendrickson, right? And Trey Hendrickson literally was their pass rush before he got hurt. And I mean, you saw it last year when he got hurt. It just was non-existent. Anytime Trey Hendrickson got hurt, that pass rush just dropped off. And so even though they went out and collected a bunch of players and we have draft picks that are still developing, they needed somebody that was strictly good at rushing the passer. I think that's what Cassius Howe is. I think Cassius Howe is very different from what the Bengals have traditionally drafted. They traditionally go after these guys that are 6'5", 270. They have to have these traits. And they had that with Shamar Stewart. They had that with Miles Murphy. But they are somewhat prospects that aren't as polished with pass rush moves and things of that nature. Cassius Howe is a lot different from them. He's more of a 250-pound guy. He's 6'2". He has undersized, quote unquote, arms for the position. But the one thing that he can do is rush the passer. And he's actually a pass rush specialist, which the Bengals traditionally never draft. They want a guy that can fit all kinds of things on that defensive line. They want somebody that can stop the run. They want somebody that can rush the passer. Cassius Howe really isn't a run stopper at all. He is a straight up pass rush specialist. I think Cassius Howe is actually going to get a lot more playing time than people expect, especially on passing downs. I think he's going to be one of the specialists in there rushing the passer. So if you had to ask me who's going to bring the most value day one, I think it's definitely Cassius Howe.
Okay. Is there a player that you all passed on multiple times that you were thinking might come back to haunt you? Or is there a player in the first round that you were hoping that you all would get, but then you got Dexter Lawrence? So you're kind of like, I think we won this. I think we're going to be like, that guy is always going to be something that you think about, especially now that you know kind of how the draft went.
For sure. So I started off like a Ruben Bain guy, Ruben Bain truther. I was on the Ruben Bain kind of situation, but I don't think I would take him over Dexter Lawrence. Some people, a lot of people wanted Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs is a great player. I didn't think that he was like a top 5 player, like some Bengals fans were considering him. I think he'll do fine in Dallas. The thing that scared me away from him was the degenerative knee news. So like, I'm like, bro, I saw what happened with Todd Gurley with that. So I wouldn't say Caleb Downs. I would say the one person that I wish that the Bengals would have drafted, and they still had the opportunity to draft him, but they passed on him, was Jermichael McCoy. Like Jermichael McCoy was a guy that some people were mocking to the Bengals before the injury news came out about his knee. And every time I'm sitting there, like I just talked about Takario Davis, Jermichael McCoy was right there. And if Jermichael McCoy ends up being a good player, and I get flashes of Will Johnson, because I remember last year, this time during the draft, I was like, Bengals, take Will Johnson. It's not rocket science. They said that he was the best corner in the draft. I don't know what weird stories came out, but he's there. He's there. And it was a lot of similarities with Will Johnson, where it was the knee thing.
The injuries.
They didn't know what was going to happen with him. And I'm like, dog, at this point, it's a third or fourth round pick. I don't care. Like, it's one thing to do that in the first round, right? Second, third round, like, bro, it's the third round. Like, go ahead. Like, you drafted Drew Sample in the second round. That was a horrible pick. Take Jermichael McCoy, roll the dice. Like, you'll have really good corners. So I think that's the pick that comes back to bite them, especially if Takario struggles or if they have some sort of injury. Because you already know, like, cornerback is a position where somebody's going to get hurt. Like, you're going to be down a corner at some point, maybe for a few weeks. So I think that's the one for me, was Jermichael McCoy. And I kept banging on the table. And then I just felt like a crazy person, because I felt like I was the only ones and they're like, no, clearly the knee is cooked. There's no way. There's a reason that he's still out there. So
there's so many words I just hate now because of sports. Like, I hate when people say cooked. I hate when people say cap. Like, stop. Like, shut up. Like, just like use a different word, please. For sure. Those irk my nerves. So, okay. So let's talk about the season a little bit. What would success look like for you all this season? Like, when the season is over, are you in the mode to say Super Bowl or bust yet? Or how are you feeling about the season? Like, what would success look like for you?
Success would definitely be, as a start, with going back to the playoffs. This team has not been in the playoffs in three years now. I think if they were a first round runner, one and done, I think that's still a disappointment. I think for them, success would look like get into the divisional round, I think minimum. Obviously, they want to win the Super Bowl. I think the goal is Super Bowl. But the goal right now, the first goal is got to win the division, got to get to at least the divisional round for it to be considered somewhat a success. I think the mountaintop goal is, which everybody should go in with this goal at this point, right? Unless you're teams that are actively kind of tanking. I don't know what the Cardinals are doing right now.
I was going to say, everybody.
I don't know what some of these teams are doing right now, but I'm like, I don't know what the Browns are doing either.
That, right? Shout out to the Browns. They're like the easiest punching bag.
Oh, I don't know what they're doing right now. But I would say that the ultimate goal is to get to the Super Bowl for this team. I think they feel like when you bring in a Dexter Lawrence and you make all of these moves that they made in the offseason, that's the goal. But I think in order for it to be considered a success, they at least have to get to the divisional round.
Yeah. I would agree. And to be honest, like obviously I'm a Steelers fan, like giving this opinion, but I think them just being in the playoffs is the first thing where you can say, okay, cool. Because it's just been, I mean, I said the other day, I'm like, I can't think of the last time we played Joe Burrow, because every time we played the Bengals, he's been hurt. So I'm just like, yeah, I think, I mean, maybe even Joe Burrow being like not hurt is also like a success, for the team. But so what position group worries you the most? Like what position group, as you're kind of thinking through this and you're looking at the team, you're like, all right, we've done some great things, but there's still there's position group that's nagging you. What position group would that be for you?
I mean, Bengals fans already know what this is. It's the linebackers. It is 1000% the linebackers. They really struggled last year, especially as rookies. And I think I forget the exact stat, but it was like the first time in some time that 2 rookies were starting for an NFL team at the linebacker position.
Okay.
So it was a lot that they had on their plate. To be honest, I'm not comfortable with them at all. I really wanted them to address the position this offseason, get a veteran in there, grab somebody like Bobby Wagner and throw him in that room, because it's scary to have a kid that doesn't really know what he's doing right now in the NFL having the green dot, like leading your defense, like, and he's like the youngest person there. So for me, I would definitely say linebacker. Like, I think one of them, and that would be Demetrius Knight. I think he has some potential, and I do hear a lot of, like, I speak with some players who seem to have a different sentiment than the fans, and I'm always going to respect.
That's fair.
I'm always going to respect like a player that's played. Like, I'm never going to say, bro, I know more than you. Like, you literally put the pads on and play. So if you're telling me that this guy can be decent and he shouldn't be getting bashed as much as he is being bashed because of other factors. Like, a lot of people tell me, hey man, the defensive line wasn't great for him. It was his rookie year. True. Going forward, he should get back. And I think that's Demetrius Knight. Now, Barrett Carter, I don't know about Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter to me looks like a special teams player, to be honest with you, but we gonna see. And I think that they invested these picks in them last year, and I feel like they're being stubborn and just saying, like, they don't want to take the L yet. They don't want to take the L that they used this 3rd and 4th round pick last year. I don't know. It really worries me.
I was doing a little stalking, whatever, research, because I'm my research department, and I saw that I think it was either you or your co-host did ask somebody, is Bobby Wagner still on the table? So at least it's a topic that, is still going around. So at least there's that, because sometimes it's like, I just need you to say yes instead of me thinking it's a thing and you just being like, oh no, we haven't even thought about that at all. And you're like, what the nothing, not at all. Like, what do you mean? So TBD. We will see what happens. I mean, respectfully, I hope that you guys never figure it out, but
of course,
because I'm gracious, like, we'll see. Where's this team improved the most from last season?
Definitely the defensive line, and more specifically 100%. Defensive tackle. I mean, it's just, I look around and I see Dexter Lawrence. I was excited when they got Jonathan Allen, because I was like, okay, they're doing something. You added so much, I think, to that room that it's crazy. They're gonna have to, like, there's gonna be some battles in this training camp. I wouldn't be surprised if one of those guys gets traded to another team, maybe for a linebacker. I know that's been something floated out there, but definitely defensive tackle, because this was a room that originally, when the Bengals made their run in 2021, Larry Ogunjobi, who you guys are familiar with, he was on the team, and BJ Hill was kind of like his backup, or that 3rd defensive tackle. And it really worked well because they were both able to get after the passer and give each other breaks, right? Then once Larry Ogunjobi was gone and DJ Reader was gone, it kind of put BJ Hill into this position where he had to get the most snaps. He wasn't as effective. Now you're talking about BJ Hill is now back to being your 3rd defensive tackle after Dexter Lawrence and Jonathan Allen. And then you still have other guys there as well, like Chris Jenkins might not make this roster. And he was literally drafted in the second round like 2 years ago. Like the one guy we kind of talked about like potential steals. One guy that I didn't really talk much about though was Landon Robinson. Like Landon Robinson could take his job for sure.
Okay.
So I think defensive line for sure for this team is stacked, is way more improved than it was last year.
Okay. What is something you think you all will do better than most teams in the NFL?
Pass the football. I mean, that's just what they do.
I was like, yeah, I know. It's like, what is he gonna say here?
That is just what they do. I mean, like, there was a point when. So this is what I'll say. A lot of people, Zach Taylor gets a lot of criticism, definitely warranted. But the one thing that you can say about him positively is that his offense scores points now. Like there was a point when he first got here where it was like they were struggling to score points sporadically with like Jamar Chase. Like it would like people that weren't watching the Bengals that year would think, oh, Burrow Chase was just automatic. No, it would be situations where the Bengals would literally score their first touchdown right before the half. And then in the second half, they just take off. It was always like up and down. Like I probably say about 2 years ago, two seasons ago, it finally got to the point where it was like just an easy button, like T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, this and that.
You guys, I always say you guys are the Dallas Cowboys of the AFC because it's very similar. You know, it's like electric offenses. No one's going to take anything away from the offense ever. And then you get to the defense and you're like, oh gosh, just hold on, please. Like, just please make one tackle. Like, just please take the ball away. Like, do something. So okay. So let's get into the fun round. So the fun round, you can either give me a quick answer or you can give me your reasons why. So we'll start with the lovely Joe Burrow. What is your quarterback confidence heading into the season? 1 being, please get this guy out of here ASAP. And 5 being, he can stay as long as he wants to stay.
10. Joe Burrow can do whatever he wants to do in the streets of Cincinnati. He can do no wrong. He's definitely a 10 for sure.
Okay. Coaching staff trust level on a scale of 1 to 5.
If I'm being realistic here, I think it's at a 3. Like they're at a crossroads right now. They haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. This is Al Golden's second year as the defensive coordinator. The Bengals defense was on track at one point to be the worst defense of all time. He's definitely on the hot seat. And I mean, they've given him the players. So they are expecting the defense to be better. I don't think that they're not expecting top 10, but they're expecting probably top 20. Like you at least got to be 20th, bro. You at least have to be 20th, like bare minimum 20th. Like there's no, if you're like 25th still with these players, he's probably out of there. So I would probably say 2.5 to 3. Like I know that, like I feel like if I put this in a vacuum, I think for Zach Taylor, it's kind of a 4. But I think with the defensive coordinator with Al Golden, I think it's a 1. Like if he doesn't improve,
so you're saying the average of them is a 2.5, but the head coach for DC 1.
Yeah, because Zach Taylor literally handles nothing with anything other than the offense, which I honestly feel like he should let someone else like control the offense and he should just manage the team. But he's got his hands so much involved with the offense that it's kind of hard to blame him because the offense will be scoring 40 points. So it's almost like it's like if you had Sean McVay, like if the Rams defense was horrible, you're not blaming Sean McVay. You're looking at that defensive coordinator.
100%. Yeah. Okay. Well, who do you think is going to carry this team this year?
Oh man.
You want it to be the defense, but I know. Go ahead and give us the answer.
You want it to be. I can't say the defense right now. We're not even in preseason yet. I can't give them. I don't think that they're going to carry this team. I think it's still going to be Joe Burrow. I think the defense is just going to complement him better. But this team is going to go as far as Joe Burrow takes them.
I love that. Okay, that I respect that. And I think that you're right. I feel like if you can be probably top 5, top 7 offenses, your defense, as long as you're in the top 20, 15 would be ideal.
Right.
anything behind that, it's like you're not helping us at all. We're putting water in and you're leaking it. So
For sure.
that ain't it. So if you could trade drafts with any other team, you get all of their draft picks, they get all of your draft picks. Who would you trade drafts with?
I'm gonna hate saying this because I'm gonna
I
hate
can't wait to
saying
see what you're gonna
this,
say.
but I would actually probably trade drafts. I wouldn't do it with it. So I think the Browns had the best draft,
Me
but
too.
technically the players that they have, I probably wouldn't really need because they got the receivers and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say I would probably switch drafts with the Buccaneers so I could get Ruben
Ooh,
Bain Jr. Like if I could have added Ruben Bain Jr. to this room as well, that would have been
okay.
nasty. So I would go with the Buccaneers. I probably switch
I
drafts
love
with
it.
them
Okay. Yeah, I'm on record saying I think the Browns had a great draft, the Jets. And I think you guys had a good draft for what you need. I thought you
for
guys
sure.
drafted for need and got players that made sense. I always just say I just want teams to do things that make sense, right?
Exactly.
If your defense is bad, I want your defense to be predominantly in the draft. Like I'm not asking for much. Like do something that
Mhm.
makes sense. So, okay. I didn't expect you to say that one, but I
Yeah,
can
they
understand
got
that.
Ruben. They got the defensive tackle and the linebacker. Like they
Yeah.
got Josiah Trotter, who I was a fan of. They got Keontae Scott, a corner that we needed. They still were able to get a guard as well. So
Okay.
Ruben Bain Jr. really influenced that one. I think the combination of Ruben Bain Jr. With them also getting a linebacker, I would have definitely taken that for sure.
Okay. Shout out to Ruben Bain. So, is there a team or is there a moment as a Bengals fan where you go, oh God, here we go again? Like this always happens. Like
Mhm.
we always say we're going to do blah, 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 blah. And then here we are, week 6, and here we go
Mhm.
again. Like, what is that for you all?
Slow starts.
Mm.
If the
For the
Bengals get off,
season.
yes, for
Okay.
if the Bengals go out and drop games that they shouldn't have, like, and it's funny because they finally got out to a fast start, quote unquote fast start last year, and Joe Burrow gets hurt.
Yeah.
So like before that, it was like they'd always get out to 0-2, 0-3, 1-2, and it's like we were wondering like what the cause of this stuff was because when Zach Taylor got here, he tried to implement this Sean McVay thing with not really playing your players in preseason and not going hard in practice. And we started to think like maybe they need to play in the
Maybe.
preseason because like we're coming out
Oh,
here and
y'all
our
did do
offense is
that
like
last
not
year.
working. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like it would like we literally lost to the Patriots, not last year, the year before that. That's
Yeah. When they were
how
bad.
slow we came out
Yeah.
was to them. And then Joe Burrow, he's had the injuries, right? So then when he gets in, he's got to knock the rust off. So I would say slow start. If they
Okay.
start off slow this year, yeah, I would be saying here we go again.
Okay. That's fair. And then my final question is if you could send a message to the team's owner or
Mhm,
honestly anyone, let's say you could send a message to a player, to the owner, to a coach, whoever you
yeah.
wanted to send a message to, what
Mhm.
message would you send and who would you send it to?
Sign a linebacker, and I'm sending it to Mike Brown.
Whoever, everyone, like all hands on deck
Everyone.
right now.
Yep. CC everybody on that.
Okay. Okay. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit here. My final question, just for my self fulfilling self over here. On a
Mhm.
scale of 1 to 5, how much do you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers?
That's a great. That's a great. I'm gonna tell you what.
I can't stand them,
If
but
if
whatever. And 5 being like, oh my gosh, if I have to talk about them one more time.
okay,
And if it's
if
a
this
competitive
was
respect, that's fine.
if this was the Vontez Burfict years,
Ooh,
oh, it's a 5.
the
Like
5.
we
Okay.
hated the Steelers. Since then, I don't think like we still get riled up for Steelers week and it's still competitive between the two.
Hmm.
But you guys, at least the people that I interact with, they respect Burrow. They respect Jamar Chase. So
Hmm.
there's no like it's not the Le'Veon Bell, Vontaze Burfict dynamic that it was before. It's not nasty during the game. It's not really any dirty hits or anything like that. I would probably say now it's probably like at a 3. Like
Okay,
for
that's fair.
what's crazy is the hatred that it used to kind of be like that energy that we used to have when it was like the Vontaze Burfict, Andy Dalton, Ben Roethlisberger year. That has shifted over to the Ravens for us. I don't know,
Yeah,
like
but it's why? I think it's because I don't think you guys can beat the Ravens, right? Like how once
we can
it's like
beat
no, I'm
them.
not saying
It's
y'all
just
can't
yeah.
beat them. I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
like
yeah.
when you lose to them, it just always seems to be like a
The
thing. It's
wrong
like
time. The
yeah,
wrong
and it's
time.
it's always something, right? It's never
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, we're gonna beat them this time, and then oh well, now we're not. Now we're going to
Yeah, it's like
overtime.
we beat
Like
them. We beat them on Thanksgiving and embarrassed them, and then like to stay alive, they
you
kill
can't.
us and end
Yeah,
our season.
it's
So it's
always
like,
yeah.
and with them, it's always so like with them, it's always weird because a lot of the times we don't have Joe Burrow for those games. And so
Fair.
like they pull out this stat and they're like, "Oh, Lamar is like 10-2 against the Bengals." And a lot of it is like from when Andy Dalton was still here. So like a lot of it is like Andy Dalton, a lot of these other guys that weren't there, and it's like they have beaten Burrow, but it's more like I think it's like his record might be like 2-4 against them. It's not anything that's
Is it
super crazy.
there's some weird is it that you guys is it that they beat you all in Cincinnati, or is it like there's some weird because we have it with Lamar, like Lamar is like 1 or 2 and whatever
Yeah, he
against
can't
us,
beat
like
y'all. He can't
it's like a
beat y'all.
weird, yeah, it's like a weird stat where you're like what, but
Right.
do y'all beat them or do they beat y'all at home? There's some y'all have a
So
weird
here it
stat
is.
too
I got it
because
right here. So Joe
okay,
Burrow's only 4-7 against them. But when they
okay,
talk to us, this is what the Ravens do. I'm gonna give you an insight into what they do. They know that it's only 4-7. So 4-7 doesn't sound as gaslighting as Lamar is 10-2 against the Bengals because they have to use that to grab like those games. And those were you guys were beating us during that time period as well. The Bengals weren't good, pre Joe Burrow after those years with Andy Dalton. And
oh,
so
so
we
that
go,
stat dates Joe Burrow.
yeah, that dates Joe Burrow. It's not so it's
Oh.
they don't tell you that though. That's why they go to Lamar. They will never say Joe Burrow versus the
Mm,
Ravens because 4-7 doesn't sound as crazy as whatever Lamar's record is versus the Bengals. So that's what they
gotcha.
do. So and then it's very weird with the Ravens because they use Lamar as when those games counted. So like when Joe Burrow first got with the Bengals, right? This is what happened. He was a rookie. We were losing to mostly everybody that year. He had a really bad game against Baltimore. I think it was like somehow it was like 6 total turnovers. We're talking fumbles, not just all on Joe Burrow, but just as a team.
Yeah,
And
just
then the
bad game.
second game he misses because he's already hurt. Well, the next year, Joe Burrow sweeps the Ravens.
Okay.
Lamar, like we put like 40 on them. Like we blew them out the first game. Lamar played that game. This was a year where Lamar ends up like getting hurt. Say he's going through those contract negotiations with the Ravens, decides like not to play with them. So we play them again. We blow them out again, 40 to something. The next year, I think Lamar comes back. I think they do beat us. But the games are close. It's not like a
Hmm.
blowout game or anything like that. And then we come back and we beat them, but Lamar's not there. Then we beat them in the playoffs.
Oh,
So we beat
yeah.
them in the playoffs, but Lamar's not there. So they don't count. So like though
Oh, okay.
it's a
So it's a
weird
weird stat.
dynamic.
So
It's a
okay.
weird dynamic between us and them. And then like last year, we beat them and shut them down on the Thanksgiving game. We blew them out. Like
Mm-hmm.
Lamar had a really bad game, but then they came back and they blew us out. So it kind of was
Yeah.
like it kind of evened out a little bit last year. But in order for us to like catch up to the whole Lamar versus the Bengals, like again, that's including like Jeff Driscoll games, that's
Yeah.
including
Well,
Andy Dalton stuff. So
Yeah, I didn't realize. I just know that every time it seems like you guys really need that game, it just doesn't
Yeah,
happen. So, and I don't even
that is
know.
true.
I don't.
That is
Yeah.
true. Like I'm
So,
not gonna take away that there were games that they did beat us that we should have closed out and stuff like
yeah.
that. But they like
Or
to
just would have
talk like it's
helped.
like a
Yeah.
yeah, they just like to
Yeah.
talk like it's a
Well,
domination, and it is not. It's not a domination kind of thing
I
at
don't
all.
think
Like what
I
you
don't think
guys have done to
anybody in
Lamar,
this.
what
I
you
don't
guys
think.
have done to Lamar, like with him not ever like being able to beat you guys, going all the way back to Ben to now, like
Well, no,
that's a
he's
trend.
he's beaten us. So even his stat is a little wonky towards us as well
Okay,
because like he beat us this year. He beat us
gotcha.
last year. He beat us in the playoffs last year. So it really depends on like how you market it because the stat is
Yep.
correct, but it's what I tell people
Right.
about stats all the time. How you look at the stat and what you pull out of the stat is true, but it
Right.
doesn't necessarily tell the entire story
It
because then
it
they're like
doesn't.
the Ravens can't beat the Steelers. And I'm like, well, sometimes though, when we play the Ravens, Lamar doesn't have to play because it's week 17. The Steelers have to play, or 18. The Steelers
Right.
have to play because we want to get in the playoffs. Lamar's not even playing. So yeah,
Right.
technically we did beat them, but he wasn't
But
playing.
he
So,
so
that's why, yeah.
the Lamar stat is, and remember I told you, Joe Burrow is 4-7 against the Ravens. The Lamar stat versus the Bengals is 11-3. So when you hear
Wow.
11-3,
Interesting.
you're just like, oh my God,
That's
they've just
14
been
games, 7
murdering them.
years.
But then when I tell you like Joe Burrow is 4-7 against the Ravens, like obviously it's a losing record, but it's not 11-3.
Yeah, well, it's 3 more. They've added 3 more games. Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting. Okay. Well, I appreciate this conversation. Thank you for joining me for this chat.
no
I love
problem at all.
anytime I get to talk to like a division rival because I know I like I'm even like this. I'm a huge college football fan. I'm like this with college
Mhm.
football because I feel like nobody knows you better than a team that's in your division.
For
And nobody
sure.
knows
For
you
sure.
better than a team that you play literally 2 times every year. And if it's in the playoffs, it's a third time. Like there's things that we
Right.
know about each other that we just know about each other. Like there's certain plays that
Gotcha.
happen that I'm sure all of us watching could call it and be like, oh, right.
Yeah.
They did that thing again. Or it's like the Steelers are going to lose to the Bengals in Cincinnati, but the Steelers are going to beat the Bengals in Pittsburgh. Like
In
there's just certain
Pittsburgh. Right.
things where you're like, this is just how we roll. so
Right.
so it's always
Exactly.
nice just to like have the conversation. So I appreciate you doing this with me. And then, like
Of
I said at the
course.
beginning of the show, all of your information will be in the description so they can easily find it. And then I'll add you as a collaborator if you want to accept that also. But
Of course.
I just want to thank you because you didn't know me from anyone and you still were willing to like chat with me and connect with me. So thank you
Yeah,
for
no
that.
problem.
And then we'll end with you. Whatever you want to end with, we'll end there and then we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I would just say like please make sure that you support the content. Make sure that you support really is it really flawed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure
Really
that you
flawed
support really
football.
flawed. Make sure that you're sharing this content. Make sure that you're leaving comments, all kind of stuff, because she's a really good creator. I love the questions that she was asking. Very polished, very smart, knows her stuff. So make sure that you guys show her love. Make sure that you guys post this on your social media and things like that. Again, if you want to find more Bengals coverage or AFC North coverage, I do them both. So you can follow me on Twitter at New Stripe City. I also have the Winincinnati podcast with my partner Zim. We also do AFC North Talk, as you were stating, like that perspective of having the divisions talk about each other, like you kind of know each other. Doing that show forced me to have to watch every Steelers
Yep.
and Ravens game, and typically you wouldn't do that, right? You'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
I hate, like we're only
That's why
going
I
to watch,
love it.
but you learn so much about these teams, and so definitely support the creators, support her, and make sure that you guys leave those comments. That helps the algorithm. Hit that like button. All of that stuff helps. Make sure you guys subscribe. But yeah, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.